And that's one of the big lessons that I've kind of learned is like, look, no matter what it is, I mean, it goes with the writing. It's like the writing is just it's very hard right now. And I have to keep reminding myself, I'm like, the cold plunge was very hard. And now it's not. And now, it's more of like, oh, okay, I really enjoy this. I really like this. Especially when I get out and I feel, accomplished, but also the fact that it's just like, it's no longer something that I do every so often. It's that this is something that I've incorporated into my life.
Greetings and welcome to the Art of Rising. We are here exploring transformation, leadership, and the rise of conscious visionaries changing the planet. I am here with a powerful brother that I've read his bio and he's got some fascinating things. But what I can tell you about Jonathan Martel is that he is a cold plunge junkie and a no-nonsense team leader who turns shock, struggle, and discomfort into power. So welcome, Jonathan, to the show.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Omar.
Of course, brother, of course. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What are you doing with yourself these days? Where do you live? Where you come from? Where you're at?
Wow. Currently I reside in Providence, Rhode Island. And I am a contractor for the state of Rhode Island. I do financial analysis, which I've been doing for decades. And I'm starting my next career, which is writing, creative writing, science fiction, fantasy, speculative fiction, working on that right now. And otherwise I do yoga, hot power yoga. I do the plunging, and I've been running on and off all my life, and just big into trying to stay healthy. I was born in New York City. I lived there. I grew up there. I lived there until I was college age, and then I started moving around the country. I've lived in, I think, 5 or 6 states: California, Colorado, Texas, Virginia, upstate New York, now Rhode Island, I am happy to be here and to continue to be exploring the world and everything in it.
That's beautiful. Let's jump right into it, brother. So what we're talking about a few things. One of them is definitely the cold plunge, because this one is one that we focus on. Why? Because it helps humans to rise. It's a powerful, powerful tool that people just don't realize. But why don't you tell me about, what drew you first to the cold plunge, and, how has your relationship with it evolved?
Well, a number of years ago, basically when I moved to Rhode Island, I decided to, sorry about that. I decided to get healthy. I was on a not so good trend, and I needed to reverse it. And I also really I realized that the age that I was at, I was watching my parents get older. I was watching other people get older, friends whose parents were getting older, and you would see a trend of people who would age more gracefully and people who would age less gracefully. And it was incredibly obvious that nothing that they could do at that time, like if they were in their 70s or 80s, there's little things that they could probably do, but they'd already kind of cemented who they were and, how their bodies and minds were functioning 20 years ago, if not more. And so I said, look, I need to get serious about this. I need to get serious about my health. I need to get serious about my mindset, about, the type of life I'm living. And because I want to age gracefully, I want to be the person who is healthy in mind and body and spirit, through the ages. I want to, be healthy right up into the end as much as I can. As much, I mean, we don't have any control over this, right? We only have control over ourselves. But I have a lot of input on this, at least from what I do. And I wanted to make sure that I stack the deck in my favor as much as possible. And so I've been a long time runner, and so I've known a lot about, just looking into health and wellness but I did a number of changes, and one of those changes, as I was looking into this, was cold plunging. And I have ancestrage in Sweden. I don't have any relatives that live there. I don't know if this genetically passes through, but certainly things like saunas and cold plunges have always been something that I've been, attracted to or interested in. And so when I started doing the research and, the cold plunge came up, and it was like, look, this is a great way to keep your body resilient and to stay healthy. I said, for whatever reason, the factors of stacking the deck in my favor and maybe having just a penchant towards it, and I said, I'd like to get that. I'd like that to be a part of my life. And so, and I hadn't really, I'd cold plunged like, a few times at like a spa, where you do the sauna and then you go into the cold. But I'd never really done it before other than that, like on a regular basis. But I just saw it and I said, this is what I want. And so that's how it happened.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I like to think of it like standing at the edge of a very high cliff. It's like that you shouldn't, because you just might get hurt, but then at the same time you want to do it too. So you kind of walk up to that edge and be like, hey, there's water down there, and if I jump, I think I'll be all right. But then something else in your head says like, hey, be careful, man. No, you don't want to do that, right? But as according to our research, we found that it's the frontal lobe, which is a new part of the brain in the evolution of humans. It's this walnut size that's right here. It's the one that helps us to navigate this realm. That's why you pick that shirt or those glasses and those, and you get up and you eat these foods. So it's helping you to go through. But then, at the same time, when it's saying, be careful, don't jump in the water with sharks, it's also telling you, don't write that book. People, it might not sell. Or don't go running. Why? It's cold outside. It's raining. Don't go to the cold plunge. What? It's freezing. What are you living in Switzerland?
Well, the other thing too is when I read about aging and getting older, one of the things that they talk about in terms of keeping your body young and keeping your mind young, both of them, is resilience. And so the research on the cold plunge is still, somewhat in its infancy compared to something like a sauna, where there's like years and years and years of research. But, one thing that everyone can agree on is that the cold plunge, if you do it regularly, builds mental and physical resilience. And this is something that, everyone needs to, keep their body and mind young. And that's one of the things that really, I was like, it's sort of a maxim of the, do something that you're scared of every day. And, I used to get angry at that, because I was like, what am I going to go jump into like a tiger cage in the morning? Like, what am I going to jump into traffic? Like, what are you talking about here? And, but I was thinking way too high. And the cold plunge, I mean, I don't want to get into this tub. in the morning. I have to sit there and I have to shut that part of my brain off that's like, you do not want to do this, and then go forward and do it. And I count that as a fear, as a, I'm overcoming it, and I'm being resilient. And, that then helps me with other things when I need to be
Yeah.
resilient. So,
For me too. It just like when I see all of the, things flying in the air, I'm the center of the storm. Like I can go back and okay, it's gonna be all right. So it helps me in many ways. That's one of them. But was there a breakthrough for you? Was there a time perhaps you can share where you go, okay, wow, it shift. Something's different here now.
I mean, I think that it's definitely a process. I got it, and I moved into a new house, and I got it, and it sat in a crate for 3 months, and then I took it out, and I barely used it, and I was like, look, I can't not buy this thing and not use it, and I'm not going to get rid of it. And so, I would say that in the last like 6 months, I've really gotten into the daily usage of it. And the first lesson of it, so I'm still somewhat new to this. I think this stuff builds up over a long time of practice. And the first part was just getting past the initial, like, my first one was like, it was 56 degrees, and I could barely be in there for 30 seconds. And it was painful. And now this morning I did a minute 45, and it's 49 degrees. And it's much more, it's not comfortable, but it's doable. And it's seeing that process over time of me adjusting to a very uncomfortable environment and getting more and more used to it and comfortable with it, with something that's very uncomfortable, has been a lesson. And that's one of the big lessons that I've kind of learned is like, look, no matter what it is, it goes with the writing. It's like the writing is it's very hard right now. And I have to keep reminding myself, I'm like, the cold plunge was very hard. And now it's not. And now, it's more of like, oh, okay, I really enjoy this. I really like this. Especially when I get out and I feel, accomplished, but also the fact that it's just like, it's no longer something that I do every so often. It's that this is something that I've incorporated into my life.
Right. That's the beauty of it. That now it's just a lifestyle. Like, because we have so many things in common, me and you, the New York thing and the yoga and the running also, right? So what I like to explain to people about when I do go running, it's a mental thing. It's mental, and so is the cold. People think, oh, it's the body. Like I can't do it. Like physically, no, you can do it physically. It's your mind, the one that's trying to prevent you from that. And some days I get up and I'm pushing past that little voice, like, oh, I just blow by him. But then every now and then, Jonathan, I'm out there, it's cold, it's raining, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, nobody's out here, like, and then it starts effing with me. And then I'm there, I'm in it, like I'm not even halfway, and it's like, look, there's the shortcut, right? You could just go that way, and it's like, oh, just. And then I get this other crazy thing too. It starts to bring up all of the things that I've done in the past, things that were not very nice. And then it starts making me feel like I'm unworthy of some of these things. Why am I doing this? You're going to try to get better? Like, there's no better. Like, you've done all these things. But then I see it, and I go, oh, I see you. 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 You're obvious. And then it just, he quiets because I notice. How about yourself? Do you feel that this happens to you?
Oh yeah, no, I call him Brain. So
Brain.
yeah, so Brain
I love that.
Brain is the one that complains and whines and is nervous and is, brings up all the things. And I think about Brain as sort of a 6-year-old child that I can never get rid of, that lives in my head 24/7, and that I have to just accept that Brain is there and Brain is always talking. Some days Brain is quieter than others, but Brain's always, doing the things that you were just saying, talking about, the fears. And there's not anything positive about it. It's all about, the only positive thing is like, let's be comfortable. Let's sit on the couch and eat ice cream and watch TV and, and not do anything difficult. And it's really helped to move that aspect of my mind into a different persona, because before it was like it was me against myself, and now I have a brain in my head that makes all this noise, but this isn't what I want, this isn't what I need, this is separate from me, and that's really it's been huge for me, because I don't, it's one thing when you're trying to do something and you're constantly going after yourself, and it's like, well, why do I hate myself so much? Why do I don't want to be successful? Because I know I want to be successful. And when I developed this over, I've done therapy, but I've also read a lot about the mind and about, where this stuff is coming from. And it's not us. It's not, it is us, but it's not us. It's not like the things that we're, consciously thinking about. This is all, really ingrained. They call them modules of, but it's feelings, and it's a lot of stuff that when we were on the savannah, thousands and thousands of years ago, all of this stuff helped us just to survive, But now in modern day society, we don't have tigers around every corner. We don't have to be at this level of panic in our lives, and at this level of like, oh, well, we have to make sure, our environment is safe, 100% of the time. And so, but then how do we manage this? How do we deal with this? And it's been huge, because it's been able to say, hey, this is me over here, and this is Brain over here, and I can, it's, these thoughts aren't things that I'm trying to think about. It's this is where I am, and this is the thing that I just have to deal with, that's constantly making noise that I have no control over.
Right. The cold doesn't lie. That's one thing, right? It doesn't lie. It pushes you. I like to tell people that it pushes you into the present moment. We often are thinking about, oh, what happened to us, and these other, and then we also thinking about, oh, when I see that guy or when I see her, I'm gonna tell her, and which it never turns out to be like that, right? But the cold pushes you into the present moment. It forces you into that. Once you're in the cold, you can't think about, oh, did I feed the cat before I got in here? Or did I turn off the stove? Or none of that comes, none of that. It's just about right here, right now, your breath. And then the breath. That's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, Jonathan. Do you do some sort of breath work before you get into the water?
I don't do any breath work before. It's something that I've definitely heard about. I do, the yoga breathing is in through the nose, out through the mouth, and so when I get into the plunge, I try very hard to, do that breathing. When I first get in, I'm almost hyperventilating, because I'm like, just trying to deal with the
Right.
shock of it. But yeah, it's breathing is certainly one of those next steps that I'd like to get involved in, because I know I try to do a lot of cardio these days, because my theory is that, we're shallow breathers most of the day, and I don't think that that's necessarily terrible, but you're not getting a lot of oxygen into your body. And with the deep breathing, with the box breathing, with the different styles of breath work that are out there, I think it really makes a change. And the cardio forces me to breathe deeply. And I noticed that when I do cardio, I mean, you feel better, but I think a lot of that has to do with just the fact that I'm spending a decent portion of time breathing deeper than I normally would. And I do know that, I mean, I've read, there was a book I have around here somewhere called Breathe that talks about that, and the different ways that you can go down that road. But certainly I do know that there's a strength in breathing,
Yeah.
in focused deep breathing.
Right. Definitely. I'll send you a link of one in particular that I love to do. There's so many out there you can find, like YouTube, and I mean, this is nothing new, right? I mean, they've made it popular lately, especially with the cold plunging, right? There's some people who have made these things super popular, but they're ancient, they're old as dust. There is something called the Edward Smith Papyrus, which was found in modern day Egypt, is ancient Kemet, and it speaks about how ancient Egyptians used cold as a healing technique for the body, for the mind. So it's as old as dust, brother. So, anybody who's made it popular has not invented this by far. They just put their own little twist to it, and some bring the science to it, and it's just great, but it's old.
Well, and if you look at the health and wellness factors around the world, you do find that the Scandinavian countries have score, the highest, or among the highest. And these people practice. They don't even blink an eye about going into a sauna and then jumping into an icy pool. And it's not like they sit there and make a big deal about it. They're not like, oh, it's just like, oh no, this is what we do. And this is what they've always done. This goes back, throughout their history. And they're just like, well, this is what, this is how we live, and this is what makes us thrive. And I think now we're getting to a point where you can take this kind of concept, and no matter where you are, we can now have a tub that is, can get cold, and that I can put in my garage, and I can jump into it, and it's getting more and more available to other people. And of course, you've got your center, and there are places like that opening up in different places, but it's becoming much more accessible to, those of us who don't live near an icy cold lake that we can just jump into in the morning. But that's how people used to bathe. Like, there was never, hot.
Yeah, there was no hot water. Yeah. To get hot water was like, what? You have to chop down a few trees. You have to have a huge cauldron or a few of them. It's probably something that was meant for the royalty. When you look at ancient Rome or something like that, like hot baths, that was at first it wasn't for the common guy. No, he wasn't getting hot water. No, it was just cold.
And they didn't sit around and think, oh, I wish I had a hot shower, because they didn't know what that was. They were just like, oh, this is how it was probably their coffee in the morning. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Unless they were near a hot spring, but that was just far and few in between. But mostly water was just, it's cold. I mean, we live too comfortable. That's for sure. We're hot, put on the AC, we're cold, turn on the heat. Like, discomfort thing. The other day, Jonathan, I bought a lamp. It came with the remote control. I was like, you can't get up and turn on the light. It's
Well, and
crazy, man.
the problem with living in comfort all the time is that when discomfort comes along, it's so hard to deal with, and
Mm,
because, and it's something that I think in our modern day society that we have to work hard to escape. And I think this is one of the reasons why I really learned to love the plunge is that, um,
mm,
it teaches me discomfort. And, because if I'm living in comfort all the time and then something slightly uncomfortable comes along, it's like, oh no, that's uncomfortable. And if something extremely uncomfortable comes along, it almost shuts me down. But the more that I,
mhm,
push myself and the more that I accept discomfort in my life and I don't suffer from it. And the suffering, because suffering is a choice a lot of times, most of the time. To the guy behind me, suffering is obviously all a choice. But it's so interesting that, like this morning when I plunged, I'd put my arms in to clean out the filters and before I got in. And then I got in and my arms were really cold. Like they were for whatever reason, like the temperature contrast for the arms that I put in initially, and it was painful. It was like, it wasn't really painful, but it was like, oh no, 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 we should stop this. And
mm,
I had to sit there with my mind and say, this is the same thing that we did yesterday. That was fine.
mm,
I'm not in any danger. I'm not going to die. My arms aren't going to fall off. We can sit here and deal
mhm,
with this. And then not only that, like the extra sensation I'm feeling is not, it's just a sensation. It's a stronger
mm,
sensation than I had yesterday, but it's not something that I should feel upset about, you know. But I had to talk myself through that. And it's been really fascinating and I've been working on that, but it's also fascinating to sit there and say the things that I used to think were things that I suffered about, that I was like, oh, this is terrible and was agony over, are things that I no longer suffer about. It's not everything,
mm,
certainly, but
mhm,
it teaches
mhm,
me that suffering is a choice. Um,
mm,
and I'm no ways perfect with that, but it's really fascinating to think, do
mm,
I want to live my life going through with suffering or do I want to try to escape it? And
mm,
because it's so
mm,
much more fun when it's like, oh, it's just a sensation. It doesn't have to wreck my
mm,
day.
mm.
You know, when I
Right,
have
right.
issues in traffic or when I have an issue with my boss or when I have, anything that happens in the real world, is my mind making a thing out of it that it doesn't need to be, you know, and
Mm,
or,
mm,
is this really life and death? Is this really something that I want to, just be miserable about and stew in? Or is it something that's just a sensation and it's going to pass like the cold plunge, you know?
mm,
And I'm gonna
mm.
come out the other
Right,
side and I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be the same way I was this morning,
mm,
you know?
right, right, and
Yeah.
better
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It seems that you're saying that some of the things that you would learn, like in the self-help books and these other different things, that the cold is something that teaches you something different, or perhaps in a different way that some of those other things do not.
Yeah. No, I mean
Mm,
because the problem with really I mean, I've read many, many, many self-help books throughout the decades. And some are better than others, but at the end of the day, reading only gets you so far. And you have to practice. You have to practice whatever they're talking about, and it's very easy. It's almost satisfying in a way to read a solution to a problem that you have and never act on it, but know that that solution exists. And it's sort of
mm,
it's an illusion of satisfaction of, hey, well, I could solve this problem now anytime that I wanted because I know what the answer is, but the problem still exists, and you have to practice in order to make it real in your mind and in your body. And what's great is that a lot of these things are like, well, you have to interactions with people and certain things that maybe doesn't happen every single day. Like, where they're like, okay, well, when you're in an argument with someone, and it's like, it's kind of hard to practice that. And the plunge is great because it's something you can practice all the time. It's there when you need it, you go to it. And it's, and then over time, because you can't learn these lessons in one shot. You can't get an answer and then be like, okay, I now have the answer. And then you go out and your life has changed. It's never works that way. You have to practice it. You have to practice it and you have to get better at it. And like, when I first got into the cold plunge and it was freezing and it was 56 degrees. If I got into 56 now, I'd be like, what is this? This is,
Yeah. Hot bath. Yeah.
And I mean, and I know at your center, you do, the ice and that's much colder than what I have. And I sit there and I think, Omar's people, they're crazy. But I also know that if I can move from 56 to 50 and at the yoga studio they have a plunge as well. And the kids get in and it's like, 40, it's the low 40s. And they get in, and this is also another fascinating thing, is that they get in and they don't know any other temperature than what that cold plunge is. And so they don't know that this is much colder than something else. They just know that it's really, really cold. And so but they're adjusting to that. And it's old people, young people, whatever. And, it's all about, getting into a situation and then adapting to it. And, but you can't, you got to do that with practice. And the great thing about, plunging is that you can practice it. And it's in a controlled environment, which is really nice.
Yeah. It's sort of like reading about running. But if you don't get up and run, it's like, yeah, I'm a great runner, but you don't run. Like, you have to run in order to practice that thing, So you did mention books, and books are a huge thing that we push here at the OMZL Healing Sanctuary. I have a folder that I share with people that contain audio books and also PDF files of books too, because sometimes they're just not accessible at an affordable price, because I was doing some of those audio things, with the 1 credit, and then I went through the book like within 2 hours. Now I gotta wait another month, or I can up the subscription. I'm like, nah, listen. I started looking for them, and a lot of them exist out there. So why don't you tell me about some of the books that have helped you to push past some of these roadblocks?
Well, I have a bookshelf here, but there's a book called The Power of Habit. I'm sure you're aware of it, and that is just a huge book. Well, there's Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is a really big one, because I think, like we were mentioning earlier, we think that we're these creative, unique individuals, and yet we're like 80 to 90% habitual. Like, everything that we do is habit, and which is something that is hard to comprehend. It's one of those statistics you hear and you're like, but that's crazy. And then when I started realizing, looking at my life and how much of the stuff that I do that I thought was, well, I really want to do this. And it's like, no, I'm doing this just because I've been doing it for so long that it's difficult for me not to do something else.
Right.
And that's when I started realizing, and then with Atomic Habits, when it came out, it talks about how to develop new habits and how to stack habits on other habits. And, this is really great because there's a lot of mental effort that I expend on doing something new. If I want to do like doing the plunge, figuring out, okay, how do I get into it? How do I get out of it? How long do I be in there? When I come out and I'm soaking wet, what do I do? Just the whole idea around what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. There's a lot of thinking about that. There's a lot of figuring out what's going on, and preparing to setting up a pattern, setting up habits to do this, of like putting out the clothes in the morning and knowing that, having a towel ready and having shoes that I can wear to go upstairs because, my feet are wet, kind of thing. And now I have everything set out, and this is something that Atomic Habits talks about is prepping the habit, and then also, setting yourself up for success, and then stacking a habit on another habit. Like I do a stationary bike before I get into the cold plunge. And so now when I get on the stationary bike, and it's like for 10 minutes just to wake me up, just to get the blood flowing. And so whenever I get up, sometimes I'll do the bike, other times, and I'll almost have to stop myself from jumping into the cold plunge again. I'm like, well, I did that already today. And not that it would be terrible to do it, but I'm like, but the habit has now been ingrained that, the bike happens and then the plunge happens. And it makes it so much easier to do things. Like if I was trying to constantly reinvent myself every day, I would be exhausted. And so understanding it doesn't get very scientific, that book, but there are a lot of books out there that talk about like the new science around neuroplasticity, which is the fact that we can change our brains. And it's not like the thinking was that, you get to like 25 or 30 and your mind was set. And that was it. And that's who you were for the rest of your life. And, now you realize that, through a lot of this study and information and the stuff that comes through these books that they talk about, you can change. You can absolutely change your mindset, the way of thinking, and go in different directions. And you can create new habits. You can get rid of old habits and create new habits, whatever you want. And it's so freeing because it basically says there is no limit on, the only limit that you have on what you want to do is your mind. You can't grow wings and fly, but if you want to get up in the air, you could work to get a pilot's license, and you could go and, you could fly for other people, but that's a possibility. And it's like, oh, well, I don't know how to do that. But no, you can change your mind. It's like, oh, well, I'm not disciplined enough. You can develop the discipline. You can do these things. You can change from, into anything that you want to be. And what's great is that it gives you control. It gives you the ability to have some sense of control over at least how I live my life from where I am. I can't control the rest of the world. And, in this day and age, it's very scary because a lot of the stuff is very obvious that it's not in our control. And we're just watching it. And we're spectators, whether we like it or not. Well, what can I do? Well, I can change myself. I can affect myself in my own ways. And getting back to the books, the Power of Habit, the Atomic Habits, the Breathe book was really interesting for the breathing. There you go. Breath. It's backwards, but but that was a fascinating book because they talked about breathing through your nose versus breathing through your mouth and how it changed things, and but I think the books are so amazing because they've always suggested to me, here are normal people living normal lives who have greatly changed who they were and their outcomes in the world through techniques, through practice, through discipline. And then if you're like, well, I'm not disciplined, there's another book out there that says, here's how you develop discipline, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. And
And, you know,
mhm.
go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say that for us, or for myself, what I do enjoy explaining to people that for me, books are like a window. You get to open the window and look outside and look beyond and see, like, hey, look what's going on out there. Like, I could go there, I could do that, I could be that, and then you get to step out there too and do it, because if someone else has done it, you definitely can do it, and James Clear with the Atomic Habits, that's one of them that's in the library too. Huge, man, game changer, preparing my stuff. I mean, if I have to be fumbling in the dark for a pair of socks to put on, and then my earphones with my, and the headlamp, and that's it. Like, I've already wasted like an hour. Now I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just don't want to go. I got something else to do, and now it's getting late. But when I prepare those things beforehand, incredible. Another one for me is As a Man Thinketh, right? As a Man Thinketh.
I've heard of
Do
that
you
one.
Yeah, that's by I forgot his name, James something. But As a Man Thinketh, like, I'll send it to you. Powerful. And once you read those things, you get to see that those thoughts that you're thinking, they're not even your thought, they're just thoughts. And they're creating all of this scenario around you, where on the other hand, you could change those thoughts. You can steer them in different ways. You can, and you can just observe them, just like the guy behind you that was telling you. Just look at that, look at it, observe it. That we're too close to the action. We think it's us, like, oh, this is me, but it's not. Step back a little bit, and so you could see it, and you'd be like, hey, nah, that's not me. And I'm not, no, I'm not like that. No, I'm not, and I'm not going to do that either. I'm better.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge for me has been, and I've kind of put a rule. Well, I haven't put a rule, but it's a guideline these days of that I'm not. I've read so many self-help books that I've put a hiatus on them right now because the challenge for me has been, that ease of reading and then feeling like I've accomplished something when I really haven't. I've just gained information. And I think that, because it's very seductive to, and this is this, you see, I get this through the social media and the YouTubes and all of that, where they're saying, hey, here's the secret. Just watch this video and you will get the secret to this. And it's not like that they're not imparting good information. But there's only so much information you can get. And then it's getting more information is not going to help you. A lot of the time, the only thing that's going to help me is practicing, is getting out there in the world and doing it. And the challenge is that it's never easy. It's never perfect. It's never comes out the way that I want to in the beginning. But that's what practice is for, and that's what, like the whole plunging thing was not sexy to me at first, especially I haven't been running in a while. When I get out and run after I haven't run in a while, it's hard. It's very hard. I used to run and I would forget how long I've been running for. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to run 3 miles. And then I look at my watch and it's like 4.5 miles. And I'm like, how did that happen? And because I'd been practicing so much that I'd just gotten into a zone and it was effortless. There's no zone right now. Like if I go out right now, it's my brain telling me, what are you doing? This is insane. But if I do it for 3 months, then I'm going to get back into that rhythm. I'm going to get back to that groove. But it's none of this stuff is easy or comfortable when you first start doing it. And a lot of that is like, oh, okay, well, then we shouldn't do it. And it's like, no, 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 no. That's how
Mhm.
everything happens.
That's right. Yeah.
Nobody gets great
Right.
by starting great.
Well, for me, Jonathan, I'm at that point where something as simple as like taking a shower, because all my showers are cold. So when I take a shower, something in my mind says, it's late already. Oh, you're tired. You've been working all day. Don't just, the water's cold. It's not going to feel comfortable on your skin. Somewhere in my mind, it says, that's why I'm going to do it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Now I know that's the thing that I'm not, no, I'm not going to, I'm going to do it. That's why. So it helps me. But perhaps you could tell me, Jonathan, about your day. Like, I know you're doing many things and you're helping people, you're leading people, you're helping people to be leaders and to create this sort of environment to get things done structurally and in other ways. How has the cold and the running and the meditation and the yoga, how has all of that helped you?
Well, the level of noise in my head has gone down appreciably. Um, and a lot of that has to do with, stepping into these environments that are more conducive to, examining what you're talking about, examining your thoughts and dealing with your thoughts as what they are, which is, for the most part, noise, and not taking them personally. Because I mean, we're all the heroes of our own stories, right? Everything is always about us. And one of the greatest lessons that I've learned in my, the age that I'm in, is that no one cares about me. And, you know, it sounds weird, but a lot of times I'll walk around and I'll be like, oh, well, I've offended that person, or I've done this, or I've done that, and they're thinking of no, they're not thinking about me. They're thinking about the stuff in their own head. Like they're thinking of they might be doing the same thing I'm doing, but they're not sitting there thinking about me. And so why should I spend so much time worrying about what they're thinking about me, because they're not. Um, and I know that this is something that's shared not just by me, but by other people. And when I start eliminating all of that noise and all of that worry and all of that, just busy work that my mind does, I find that very slowly I'm more available for other people. I'm more available to listen. Um, I still have a challenge of being a little too verbose at times. And it's one of the things where they talk about being a good writer is being a good listener, and being a good observer of humankind. If I'm sitting there worried about myself every day, if I wake up in the morning and I'm worried about this and what I'm wearing and who I'm talking to and what they're thinking about me and all this stuff, I have no time for anybody else. And if, and it's hard to make a connection. It's like when I get into conversations with people and I'm not listening to you, I'm waiting for you to stop talking so I can say what I want to say. And I still do that, and I'm learning to not like it more and more, and to try to practice about active listening. And it's hard, and I think the modern day culture definitely makes it harder. But I think that kind of listening and being there for people and really stepping out of my own way makes me better at whatever I'm doing. But also, just makes life more enjoyable, because, I honestly get sick of myself, all the voices going on. It's like, I don't wanna, but I also don't want to distract myself over time, like it's more about, oh, okay, I don't need to listen to you. Let me connect with this person. Let me see what they're doing. Let me try to help somebody.
Right. The Untethered Soul. That's another great book too. I don't know if you've taken that one in too. He talks about being or sitting in the seat of consciousness, right? You need to sit in that one and just be the observer of things. And he talks about if you were living with a roommate and if he never shut up, I mean, if he talked constantly, he was behind on his rent and he was just filthy dirty, you would do everything to get rid of him. But yet we don't do anything about that roommate that's in our head, where we should. There's tools out there. Meditation, it's a powerful one for me. I try to do it every day, at least something, 5-10 minutes. If it changes my day totally, it quiets the monkey mind, the roommate that's in there.
Oh yeah, no, the monkey mind, and
Mhm.
the one of the things that in my mind, and I've gotten feedback from other people that talk about this as well, is that let's say you want to change your life. You think that I think that, oh, I need something monumental to happen. I have to move to a new city, or I have to throw away all my old clothes and wear new clothes, and I have to change my job or change my relationships or whatever. And that's not how it happens. It happens with a few minutes a day. And it's so amazing to think that, my brain fights, meditation, or plunging or whatever. Plunging is a minute and 45 seconds, a minute and 45 seconds. Like
Right.
it's nothing at all.
Nothing.
Meditation is, they talk about like 13 minutes is a nice window of meditation, like sitting down 13 minutes. I mean, 13 minutes is challenging, to
Yeah,
sit
right.
there. But who doesn't have 13 minutes in their life,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we blow away hours and hours doing absolutely mindless garbage. Why? I don't even watch movies. I don't watch TV, Jonathan, or nothing. Why? Because it's the same thing. It's nothing new. No, and it's a waste. It's wasting. I could do so many great things with this energy, with this life.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think that, that's part of the, taking time to slowing down and being present in the moment, which, the plunge teaches, as you were talking about. And, then it's made me realize that, I spend so much of my time trying to distract myself from being in the moment, being present. And even though that's kind of what I want. I want to enjoy life. I don't want to go back. I don't want to be 10 years in the future and be like, my life is Netflix, like, or my life is X, Y, or Z. And the more that I do the things that are mostly that are satisfying long term to me, don't have anything to do with social media or mindless consumption. And there's so much mindless consumption. I mean,
Yeah,
in my
now it's ridiculous.
well,
It's
and
just you can't get away.
yeah, and I will, like, food, for example, which I'm definitely working on and learning how to eat more mindfully, but also realize that, like, this, if I'm sitting and I'm watching a show, which is a standard American thing to do. You sit down on the couch and you eat dinner and you watch TV, whatever you're watching.
Watch the program. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will eat and I will have no recollection of what I've eaten. I will, and it's not like you have to, enjoy every single morsel of food. But I sit there and I think to myself, "Oh, I'm going to have a nice dinner. I'm going to do this," and it's like I'm not even paying attention to it. I'm not even giving it any. So if I'm thinking, and it starts making me realize how insane these habits and these mindsets that I have are, and how I need to break out of them. Because if I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm going to have a delicious dinner," and I'm going to pay for it, I'm not going to make it myself. I'm going to pay somebody else to make it. I'm going to sit down, and then I'm going to completely ignore it while doing something else. Like, what am I doing? you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling myself that I'm doing something because of reasons, and then I'm completely ignoring the reasons, and then I'm thinking,
Mm,
oh, I'll do that again. That's insanity,
mm.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. That is a pure definition of it. It's just it's way out now. I mean, then there's TVs everywhere. Like you go to all these restaurants, like there's television. I'm eating food. I don't want to hear about the arson and the rape and the car crash. Like, it's just crazy. I mean, I haven't seen TVs in the bathroom yet, but they're working on it. I'm sure, bro. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, when I go to doctor's appointments and they
Oh.
they have a TV, and or I'll go over to other people's houses, and there's a TV in the bedroom,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, look, and I made a point, and I have a very specific room for the TV, and I've been going in there less and less and less, because it's it's a distraction. And so I'm trying to make it so that, okay, I need to have a purpose to what I'm doing. Like I need to have a specific movie or a show that I want to watch, and I want to have it for a very set period of time, because the thing that I'm catching up to is that I mean, all of our time is limited, and what do we want to do? Where do we want to be if we get to that rocking chair when we're 80 on that porch, wherever it is, when we look back, do we want to look back and think, oh, I'm so glad I watched all those Netflix shows? Like is that
Exactly.
what we want to recollect on? Is that what our memories want to be? Or
Right.
do we want it to be something else? Like, did we travel somewhere? Did we read great books? Did we talk to people? Did we live life? Because watching TV isn't living life.
Right. Right.
It's
Create
watching other
things.
people, live life, or
Yeah.
watching made up
Oh
characters
my
live life.
goodness. I did hear this one guy say people who watch movies and TV, they like to see other people doing things. They don't like doing things. you know it's like let's get up and do things. There's so many things to do. Sometimes I look around, I see some of these young guys like, what are you doing? Like, there's so much to do around here, man. Let's build it. Let's, I don't know, create it. Let's set a goal. And I was doing the Spartan races for a while. I think I did it like about 3.5 4 years straight. Like every year I was running about 3 to 4 of these grueling. Like when I first did them, they were just like so much. I thought I was going to the gym, I was fine, but then I learned really quickly is that I'm not training. You have to train your body.
Mhm.
So they're great. They're great. Something to look forward to. That's why I tell people purchase one of those or some other franchise. Something to look forward. Like you paid for it. It's like the cold tub that you have. You pay for it. You're gonna just let it sit there? No, come on. That doesn't make any sense. Let's go. Get up. Let's do it. You know.
Well, and like over there is
Mhm.
there's 2 marathon medals there, that I didn't do
Mm.
them quickly, I didn't win.
Right, right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I accomplished them, and there's a bunch of half marathon medals there, and every
Mm.
time I look at it, I don't look at it, every day. It just sort of goes past my vision, but every so often I'll look at it
Mm.
and I'll be like,
Mm. Mm.
that's who I am. I
Mhm.
accomplished this
Mhm.
thing,
Oh my
and
God.
it lives on with me. It's not like the medals mean, they when I look at them, it's like I put in effort, I set a goal, and I reached that goal. um
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
but you
Mhm.
don't do that by, you do that by getting up and running in the morning, like you said,
Yeah.
getting up and running at
Yeah.
4 o'clock in the morning, and when it's raining
Mhm.
outside.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
but those will live with me for the rest of my life. um
Mm. Mm. Mm.
the
Mm.
I ran the New York Marathon. That's going to be something that I can own, and no one can
Right.
ever take that away from me for the rest of my
Mm.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the people
And
don't they don't we don't ever talk about. I mean, we're starting to more and more, and you can get into it, but it's not very advertised about the people who we look at and we say, oh, these are amazing people, or they've done amazing things, or they've been very, very successful. And we don't look at the
Mm.
fact that their success is built off of a very boring,
Mhm.
regimented system of
Mhm, mhm,
practice of what they
mhm,
want to do over and
mhm,
over again. Because it's not sexy.
mhm,
It doesn't fit into a highlight reel, you know. The
mhm,
like tennis, these amazing tennis players,
mhm.
they don't live crazy. I mean, they live crazy lives now because they made all this money, but they woke up every morning and they practiced tennis for 3 hours, and then they took a break and then they practiced more, you know.
Right, right,
The
right. You didn't just get up one morning and say, "I'm gonna go run a marathon. I'm not doing anything. Let me just go." Like, yeah, it's just no.
Yeah, they don't have a habit of watching 3 hours of TV because they can't. Like,
You can't, right,
and at
right.
some point you have to choose. You have to sit there and say, and I've realized this is like we can't have everything, but we do get to choose. And so,
Mm,
if I can choose, if I'm given the choice between TV or, being a successful author, which one do I want? And
mm,
I could say every
mm,
day I want to be a successful author, but
mm,
am I saying that when I go into the TV room to sit down and watch 2 hours of TV? You know,
right,
and
right.
the more that I bring that to the front, and the more that I say, okay, this is me making a choice of how I spend my time.
Mm.
How am I going to spend my time?
Right. There are people that have put things out, and that comes to my mind also when I'm out there. That woman Mexican runner, you know her, Maria Lorena Ramirez, the one that basically runs ultra marathons like in slippers. And I'm complaining because of my new ASIC, $250 sneaker is breaking on the side. Maybe I shouldn't run. Oh man, it's crazy.
Well, it's funny how Goggins has become, no longer a person or a noun, but like, a
Mhm,
verb.
mhm, mhm.
Where you're gonna Goggins something. And I was watching another book that's just incredible. Mark Manson, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Um,
Mm,
he puts so much truth on so many pages. There's so little fluff, and it's incredible how much truth that he can lay down in a certain
mhm,
amount of time, because
mhm,
it's just
mhm.
eye-opening. Like, one of the things
Yeah.
he
Mm,
talks about is like the idea is not to be happy, is not to be comfortable. You know,
mm,
the
mhm,
idea is what pain are you willing to accept in your life to accomplish what you want to accomplish?
mm,
Because a lot of times we're like, oh, well, I want to be happy.
mm.
I want to be this blissful, happy person. It's like, no, I don't necessarily want to be, happy all the time. I want to succeed in something. I want to go out and accomplish things. I want to help people. I want to do things. I want to make something
Mhm,
of my life.
mhm,
And if I
mhm,
sit around and be happy,
mhm,
that's not always going to happen. It doesn't mean I don't ever have to be happy, but I shouldn't look at,
mhm,
happiness shouldn't be a goal for like 100% of my life. You know, I'm not, it
mhm.
shouldn't be like this blissful, satisfying, and that's heaven or the afterlife, whatever you're thinking
Yeah,
of there.
yeah. It's not even realistic. It's
No,
not. No, we just don't live in that type of realm here. It's not
but
like that.
everyone, but that's what we're kind of programmed to think about. And he's like, look, when you start changing your mindset and start thinking, okay, uh, pain is okay to have in my life. Discomfort is okay to have in my
Mm,
life.
mm,
And it's like, well, what am I
mm,
now willing to do? Because you could make an argument that it's painful not to sit down and watch TV, but to
mm,
sit and
mm,
study
mm,
writing. I mean, it's painful for me. I want to sit down and watch
mm,
TV and eat, fun foods, and then, not worry about it. But
mm.
if I want to be a successful
Right.
author, I have to make that choice.
Yeah. It's definitely not gonna write itself. No, it's not gonna do that. Yeah. I think it was, Susie Orman was the one who I heard her say, "In life, we all have chains. What kind of chains do you want? You want the metal ones, or you want the ones like that have nice, soft, fluffy, like, what is the ones that you want? We're all tied to something. So let's just create that thing that helps us." And by the way, David Goggins, he's one of my gurus. He's my go-to guy. Yeah, really. When I run, I'm hearing motivational compilations, in my ear. And I tell people, how do I do some of these things? I just brainwash myself. That's how I do it. I I'm constantly hearing this motivational, something that's, mindset, like let's go, push it harder and push it a little bit more. And so when hard things come up, I'll be like, okay, this is what I do. I do hard stuff. And so and then there's always someone that I'll tell them about David Goggins, and then they'll come up with something about, oh well, yeah, but he's been married a few times, or he curses a lot, or I'm like, what the fuck, what does that matter, bro? Like, take the message. Take the message. That's what I tell people, Jonathan. Take the message, not the messenger. Of course, we do things, we make a mistake, and we didn't mean, or something like that. Everybody, we're all like that. But the message, oh man, gold.
Well, and I think the hardest question anyone will ever ask of themselves is, who do you want to be? And it's not necessarily not what do you want to do, which is the one question that we're all supposed to answer. What do you want to do when you grow up? What are you doing now? What's your job, kind of thing. But who do you want to be? Who's the kind of person you want to be? What's the life that you want to live? Because I've seen that, and it's not an easy question to answer, but it's an important question to answer. And then when I knew that question, all of a sudden the information that was coming in was no longer, oh, I'm going to follow this person, or I'm going to follow this person, or I'm going to follow this person, or this is the person. If I just do what they tell me to do, then my life will be what their life is, or I will have solved my problems. When I figured out, this is the kind of person that I want to be, then when a message comes in, I say, does that fit in with who I'm trying to be? And a lot of times, like with Goggins, I'm never going to go as far as Goggins is going to go on things, but I love his enthusiasm. I love his, so I can take the message that he has, but I don't have to buy into anything else that I don't want to buy into,
Exactly.
But,
exactly.
But yeah. it's all about figuring out, what my life is going to be. Who do I want to be? And part of that is having that kind of that permission to have the ability to dictate your own life. And a lot of that comes with mastery over your own mind and understanding your own mind and those messages. And then it all comes back to things like plunging, where, if you want to get a little bit of mastery over your own mind, get into a really cold tub of water, on a regular basis, because there's nothing else but you and your mind there, and your mind's not going to be happy about it. And right. Learning how to deal with that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for your time. Thank you for all the conversations and the knowledge. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, let's do it again soon. What do you say?
No, I'm always happy. You can tell I love to talk. So,
sometimes I tell my wife, "Oh my God, that guy, he talks so much." She looks at me, she goes, "I know you ain't talking." Right? It's like, yeah, I like to talk. What do you want? All right. We recognize our people. We do. We know who we're supposed to be with. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate you. And thank you guys for listening in. Stay right there, Jonathan. Don't move.